Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere. This is Chris Parker, and I am with Michael Fischer from Movember. He's the head of Movember Europe. And all this month, I've been celebrating and raising awareness for men's health, or as I've sort of redefined it, people's health, really focusing on mental health. And the call to action that I've been saying everywhere I go is call someone, reach out to someone, let them know that you're there, that you love them, and that you care. Now, Michael, this is the last episode in November, which we have relabeled Movember. Can you share with people, if they haven't seen the original episode where we launched the month with my shaving my face, and you told all about yourself and about Movember, but can you give us a little recap on who you are and what are you doing and what is Movember all about?
Yeah, thanks for the lovely introduction, and also thanks for sacrificing your face to our campaign. So I'm Michael. I look after Movember in mainland Europe, and I've been personally involved in Movember since 2012, since Movember came to Germany, where I'm from originally, and I've been a country manager for Europe for the last 3 years, based in the London Movember Europe headquarters. Movember is the world's biggest men's health charity. So we look after 3 cause areas: testicular cancer, prostate cancer, and mental health / suicide prevention. Every year we try to get men talking about their health, ideally by them growing a mustache for us as a bit of a ribbon and a sign of support. And we have an amazing website, movember.com, where you can find health information, but you can also set up a fundraising page. And this year, I think we've almost had 400,000 people join us, each doing their bit for men's health, both as a man and a woman. You can get involved. And ideally, we will see the benefits of that by encouraging more men to check in on their own health, but also to inspire others to follow their lead, so that we can all help the men in our life to stay happier, healthier, and live longer.
Brilliant. And it's such an important campaign, for humanity and for men. And I'm really curious on how it has been going, because you have some, registration numbers, but we've got a couple days left in November, and I'm just curious how you are, hitting your targets. If you manage yourself that way, I'm not sure if you have targets and things, but what I've been really delighted about is, as I've been growing out my mustache, so many people know exactly what I'm doing, and they come up and they say, "Oh yeah, my husband's doing Movember or whatever," and sometimes people aren't really aware of what it is, and it stimulates a conversation, and then and it's really a conversation starter. So I liked your sort of comparing it to a ribbon that you could wear. It's sort of a ribbon, facial hair ribbon on your face.
Yeah.
So it's been really, triggering for some meaningful conversations throughout the month. So Michael, how has it been going? You prepare all year, and you have activities going on all year, but this is the month, and how's the month been going for you and the organization?
Yeah, it's been a quite interesting year, because normally I would spend most of my days on the road. So looking after mainland Europe means I travel a lot to the different countries I look after. So I would either be in the Netherlands, Germany, and Switzerland, but maybe also the occasional trip to Spain or France, or up to the Scandies, where I would normally attend a few charity hockey matches, which sadly have all been cancelled for this year. So it's been quite different just from that point of view. It's kind of nice to be able to sleep in your same bed every night, especially because we've done a bit of soul searching around what really helps people to work on their mental health, but also their physical health. And I've recently adopted a dog, and the one thing they always tell you is routine. So getting up at the same time, going to bed at the same time, working out at the same time, really helps you to live better and healthier. So normally right now would be crazy. I would be getting up at stupid hours to get a very cheap flight to Europe or back, because obviously working for a charity doesn't mean I fly fancy airlines a lot. And then, I would do a health talk in this city. Then I would jump in a cab, jump on a train, go to the next meeting, probably write an email on the go. So none of this happened this year, which really helped me to focus on my work. Like I would do a lot of virtual health talks. So I would normally be able to do maybe 2 or 3 on a day. I think last week, November 19th was International Men's Health Day, Men's Day. I don't know. But a lot of companies use this as an opportunity to ask for a webinar. So I think on Thursday, I just did 6 or 7 webinars, which was quite draining in the end. But it's always exciting because people can join virtually from home. It's much easier to get them in a virtual room than in a physical room. So all in all, it's been different, sometimes challenging, very busy. But I felt like I didn't drop the ball at a single point. And normally that feeling would always come at a point because you just can't stay on top of your emails. People will start calling you and be like, "Hey, have you seen the email I sent you a week ago?" And you're like, "What?" So this really helped. Before I look at the numbers, I think what I'm most grateful for is just the immense amount of uptake, especially from the corporate sector. I've had so many companies reach out and be like, "We want to ideally support Movember, but we ideally also want to address the mental health aspect of it more." I think this has been a breakthrough for us in many of our markets where people have finally understood and acknowledged that we are also a mental health charity, because most people associate us with cancer, but we're actually quite active and very strong in the mental health space, especially making it normal for men to share the struggles they're facing, the tough times they're going through, and really empowering our community to have those conversations, reach out and offer help, but also hopefully being open to share the tough things we're going through and asking for help.
Yeah, beautiful. And that is what I have also really leaned into this last month about mental health. And during the COVID Corona time, when people are locked up and it's sometimes harder to socialize and, to do whatever you do with your friends. I think it was your point from our episode, our conversation a month ago, that just to reach out and talk to people, that was really inspiring for me. And I've sort of carried that flag for the whole month. So how does Movember measure success? And how have you performed? It's kind of weird because it's a charity and I'm asking very business-like questions, but it's what does success look like for Movember?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And I think I really like what you said. You're a charity, but this is a business type question. Any charity that wants to change the world like we do needs to be run like a business. There's no alternative to that, because you can't pay the bills on hugs and warm fuzzy feelings, if that makes sense. Maybe it sounds a bit harsh. I'm not talking about your local school charity that does a baking event. I'm not talking about charities that purely raise awareness, which actually there are many of. But what we do is we want to change the world by funding programs that help us do that and that help us accelerate the journey that we're on, which is to stop men dying too young. So we need to hold ourselves accountable. When a donor comes to me and gives me 10 euros and asks me where the money is going, I need to tell them where the money is going, to the last cent. And we do that. We have an annual report. Maybe you can link it in the show notes, or maybe people can find it themselves. Movember annual report is what you should Google, and you will probably find one. Hopefully the latest. We get certified by an auditor, one of the big 4 consultancies. There's a board. We have a CEO. We have a whole corporate structure that you would expect of a company like ours that raises 70-80 million euros a year and has raised over 650 million euros since the inception of Movember. And that has, as I said earlier, almost 400,000 supporters, who should ask that question: where does my money go and what does it fund? And maybe even give people, to a degree, a say into that, and ask them, how do you think we should invest the money, and where do you think in your market there is an opportunity. And we just released the annual report for last year, so they're always a bit delayed. But the way we measure our success is like pretty much any other business, through like key performance indicators or targets. This year was tricky because we normally our fiscal year runs from April to from the 1st of May to the end of April. So Movember is obviously the biggest fundraising period, but we need to make sure the budget lasts for the whole year. And this year, when we started a new fiscal year on the 1st of May, nobody really knew what the world's going to be looking like in November, or even, back in May, we didn't even know what the world looked like in June or July. So it was a bit tricky. We normally measure ourselves against the previous year, which obviously gives us a bit of guidance. Numbers were going up year on year over the last couple of years. So we kind of assumed that this might be a challenge this year, but it looks like we have two targets. We have the year on year, and we have like a more realistic target that was minus a few percent. But it looks like globally across all markets, we might hit all of our targets, and we might even hit some of the year on year targets, which is to replicate last year's success. So I'm not going to share all the details with you. They will be published at some point. But yeah, when we look at the registrations, so the people going to Movember.com, creating a fundraising profile, we're almost at the same level, just 1 or 2% under what we reached last year.
Great.
We have more people, or we have people fundraising more per registration than last year, which hopefully means that we will raise more money than last year. It looks really, really good. Across Europe, some markets were more affected, so we took a bit of a hit, for example, in Spain, just because it was more affected by COVID, and Spain is still struggling a bit from the after effects of the 2008 and 9 financial crisis, which is obviously something we always have to keep in mind. In other markets like the Netherlands, where you're based, where we've tried out a few more initiatives, especially on the corporate fundraising side, we've seen a huge uptake, and the Netherlands is one of those markets where we grow double digits, which no one did expect at the beginning of this pandemic in March or April. So overall, it's looking really good. But then, it's a few days before the end of November. We officially pull a report and add all the numbers by the end of our fiscal year. So it's still half a year to go. A lot of corporates, for example, do fund matching through third-party platforms. That always takes weeks or months for the money to go through. But I think we're in a really, really good place, and hopefully this will help us accelerate the amazing research projects we're working on, so that it has a significant impact on the men that we help through the tough times they might be facing right now, or even moving forward.
Outstanding. Well, it sounds like a success, and a success in a time when we've needed, even most with this, these very, very important issues. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience this month, and then, surprise, surprise, I'm going to shave my face. Second time, we're breaking records here. Meaning this is the second time the first time I've had someone on the podcast again. So congratulations on the repeat
Nice
performance. And it will also be the second time I've shaved my face on the podcast. And those two first are related, of course, related to Movember. And I'm really also curious if, what people think. Should I go back to my full beard, or, let the mustache come back in, or keep it clean shaven? That seems to be a lot of different opinions there. And before the end, Michael, I'd love to hear two things. One, is there any real unique highlights that you've seen as far as magical moments that you've experienced or have seen through, people's campaigns and their work? If there's something highlights, maybe I could learn, or people could learn on how to do their campaign better, or something like that, or what was some really aha moments, if there have been any. And also, before we close, I'd love to hear about what can we do in the meantime, because Movember isn't only in November, but this is an important issue, year round. So I'm also curious, after the actual Movember month, how can people stay active and contribute and raise awareness? So on my side, first, a couple of thank yous, like Mike Wittenstein. Thank you so much. And Stephen Parker also, because these two gentlemen in solidarity shaved their face and sent me photos of it. And Mike even gave us the permission to use his likeness for our little teaser video that if you've watched any of these on YouTube, you've seen the video that we put together. And of course, I couldn't do any of this without Christian Kniga, my dear friend and editor and filmmaker extraordinaire. And he took Mike's still images and made something really, really fun out of it. And we borrowed some sound from the Movember artifacts and had a lot of fun with it. So Mike, Stephen, Christian, thank you so much. There's some other people who have also been running campaigns in parallel. So York in my family, as well as Callum over in the UK, and Alois in the CIO network. I'm going to post the links to their pages as well in the show notes. So if you would like to contribute financially to those campaigns, right on. Financially, I didn't really push people to donate, although we would love it if you would. And I've gotten up just over 350 euros, mostly through Facebook. So actually, it was the Facebook actions that brought it in. I would like to do a huge shout out to ICT Media because they contribute about half of that because I basically worked for them for a day on one of their major events. And when they asked for compensation, I said, well, I'm happy to be here, but if you have budget, would you really mind, contributing to Movember? And they dropped some money into that, which was also a great way for me to, support in an indirect way. And so Rob and Regina from ICT Media, thank you so much for contributing that way. Really, really appreciate it. Also, during CIO Day, which was it's the top IT leadership event, I was invited by ICT Media to be in their lobby lounge. And so, the hundreds of executives that came through there saw me in my mustache. I mentioned it in the beginning, at the end. There is a moment that I even had Taylor Swift yellow glasses, pink wig, silver unicorn horn, and mustache talking about Movember, raising awareness. And so if I have sort of an achievement of this month, I count that up probably to, let's say, at least 500 impressions and men hearing the message. I think we've done, at least we will have done at the end, 14 podcast episodes. And those go out, there's probably, it's not huge, but in the hundreds of downloads. And we are pushing it out on social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And there are many hundreds and sometimes low thousands of engagements on that. So I think this month, although I don't have all the analytics, is probably reaching 10,000 impressions, which I think is incredible. And I hope people have also heard the message. Not only can you get involved actively, but also, contribute financially and pick up the phone. Like Michael said, a month ago when we kicked all this stuff off. What is the metric? There's a man in the world who's committing suicide every minute. If I recall that, 60 men dying too early, every hour. And, many of these are perhaps preventable if they just knew they had someone they could call and talk to and count on. So that is the call to action. So for me, it's been a delight to, wear my ribbon on my face and have so many meaningful conversations. So, before I get into my second shaving moment, Michael, is there anything that about what I've been busy that any questions you have about what my actions have been?
No, I mean, that sounds really amazing. And I think what you also mentioned, so there's some drilling in the background. And I think what's also really important is just, to have that great network of people who support you through the good times, but also through the bad times that you can reach out to. And for me, it's always beautiful to see where the donations come from, because they a lot of times come from people, especially on Facebook, that I haven't really been in touch with for a while. And then suddenly they come out of the woodwork and drop a donation. And you're like, oh, yeah, thanks, person. Let's actually get on a call. You've just bought yourself my attention through your donation. And I really appreciate it. I think it's really nice. It's only once in a year. And, there's other things happening in the world. But it's nice to see that, maybe in this 1 month, we can all come together, connect and interact with one another. And Movember is and growing a mustache is a great conversation starter. Even if we can't see each other in person, I think virtually it's a really nice opportunity for people to connect and share stories.
It's a conversation starter, and there of course there's a financial aspect of it as well. But if you're having that conversation, I think that can really make all the difference. And I'm looking at my portal, and again, the Movember.com portal is great. It's very easy to use, and you can embed it in your Facebook and things like that. So Stuart Martins, who's in the UK, there's a bunch of anonymous from Facebook, or anonymous and Facebook that I can't see who it is. Stephen Parker, who also my brother, who sent in his pictures. Anil, thank you everyone for supporting. By also sharing the episodes, sharing the message, but also financially. So what I'm going to do now, awkwardly, like we did before, is shave it off. And Michael, you were masterful last time that when there were some quiet moments, you were sharing some new insights and things. So as I'm busy for the next minute or so, if there's if you're inspired to maybe get into
I'm going to talk about my highlights exactly. For the rest of the year.
So, but the first thing I've got is some noise. So you've got a drill in the back, and I've got my clippers, and that was the noisy part last time. So let's just get through that. I know.
All right, I'm excited.
I'm just having fun. So.
Yeah, that looks like
it's bushy. It's going everywhere. It's
hard work for the razor.
It's thick. It's bushy. It's going everywhere.
Good thing you're wearing safety glasses.
Yeah, I've got some goggles on. Definitely going to need to vacuum my office and myself. It's all over my shirt.
Yeah, you already look like a different person, and that's for a lot of men this is like, or a lot of women who have partners with mustaches that normally don't have them. This is like the one thing they look forward to. There's people who leave their mustache or keep their mustache for longer. They auction it off and say, if you give me another X amount of donations, I'm going to keep it for X number of days. For me, I will keep the top bit, but I will get rid of those fangs. As my wife
you have the top bit on all
I'm
year,
like,
except for one day when you shave it off. I think,
I'm like
right?
this all year round. But my highlights, to be honest, there's not one that stands out. But as I mentioned earlier, I've done so many health talks in the last pretty much 4 or 5 weeks. I just did 10 last week. I already did 3 today. Did 2 yesterday. One was where a person from a big global spirits brand actually came forward and came out and talked about his mental health journey, and that he's been diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And for him, it was such a big step, and he was a bit unsure about it. But then when he did it, people thanked him, and I think for him it was like a really big moment, because he finally thought that he can be honest with people, and he felt like he would he wouldn't have to pretend anymore. And I see that a lot in those health talks. There's people who come forward to share their stories. There's people who ask lots of questions, and just having that conversation on a different level was the most inspiring thing for me. Because a lot of the time when you're in the same room, people need to rush to the next meeting. There's never enough time. I think those virtual meetings offer a different experience, and maybe even make it more inviting or safer for people to share what they're going through, both the good and the bad things. And then, I think the learnings for the next kind of 11 months until November starts again is just to take the things that you learned in this month that maybe work for you now as a bit of an inspiration. So if you never really worked out and you now realize going for a walk at your lunch break is something you really enjoy, then keep on doing it. If you now have a good routine to check in with your mates regularly, make that a permanent thing and continue doing it for the rest of the year. And if you realize you look much better with a clean shaven face like you do, maybe just keep it. And Movember is a start. It's a first step. It's maybe a campaign where you can try out a few things, make a few changes in your life, and then just try them out and use it as a bit of an excuse. And if you realize it works for you, then keep on doing it, and don't fall into the trap of maybe not doing whatever you wanted to do for one day and just giving up completely, but say, okay, it's a bump in the road. It takes a while to build a habit, and maybe Movember is just the first part of that long journey. But I think, the world we're still living in with COVID it's going to be a long and maybe a gray and a cold and sometimes sad winter, where we can't see each other, where we can't travel back home to our families, where we can't celebrate together. So let's be grateful of the things we can do. And one of those is just going outside, having a walk, getting some sun rays in, breathing the clean air. And I really enjoy that. I just adopted a dog, and I just went for a walk with him this morning, and we both looked at each other and we were like, do we really want to do that? Can we not just go in the garden? But then when we did, the sun came out and it was beautiful and it was nice. And I felt so much better than some of those days where I would leave the house until the afternoon, because I would wake up, have a shower, sit at my desk, be in calls and meetings. And, there are those days where I just don't have the time to go outside. It's just the way it is. But then I can go the next day, or I can maybe go for a longer walk on the weekend. And it's always so hard. We always fall in that trap. We're like, oh, I want to change my diet. I'm gonna never eat meat again. No, what you should do is I'm gonna try out eating no meat for one day a week and see how I feel. And maybe also, don't get me wrong, I'm not a vegetarian, but I eat much less meat than I used to. My wife's a vegetarian or pescatarian, and I'm not saying never eat steak again, because steak is one of the most delicious things we can have. But maybe you don't have to eat steak every day or every second, every third day. Make it something special. Treat yourself. And it's the same with everything. You don't have to run a marathon from scratch. But if you realize you enjoy working out and you maybe want to get a bit of a routine in, then sometimes you just have to accept that maybe a gray, muddy, wet day is not the best day to start running. But maybe it is the best day because you've really overcome that immediate urge to just stay indoors and postpone it to the next day.
Nice. Thank you for sharing those, I guess, discoveries and experiences. And it triggers two things in my mind. One, Madeline Smit is a lovely lady and fellow executive in the CIO network here in the Netherlands. And she was doing some moderation at the CIO Day as well. And she shared something that she does with her team. And I think you could even do that with your personal relations as well, is instead of Zooming and chatting with very, agenda-driven purpose, she said, no, I'm not going to do half-hour, check-ins on Zoom. She chose to go walk in the forest, or walk on the beach, and go walk. Yeah. And so she would have, a longer, with safe distance, human interaction. And that is a choice, that we can do. So your message also told me about, the gentleman from the Spirits Company who shared his journey with mental health and was able to open up. And that really triggers, the concept of psychological safety in an organization. And Amy Edmondson is the from Harvard, who I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple times now in the past. And she has written a book, I'll put a link to it, about psychological safety, because not only is it good for the individual to be able to be very open and honest and authentic about, my situation in the team, but research done by Harvard, by Google, and others also, one of the most, profound indicators of team success is whether the individual humans on the team have that safety to share their really meaningful and human issues. And if they are able to engage and interact as real humans instead of roles in an organization, stress goes down and productivity goes up and happiness goes up. So, so I think kudos to that person from the Spirits Company, because not only is that person probably able to live more comfortably in their work environment, but probably inspired other people to be honest and open and vulnerable as well. So I love that story. Yeah. Michael, so we're, this will be, published, I guess, the end of November. What can we do for the rest of the year? As these, very important topics continue, how can people contribute?
Yeah, as I already hinted at, we ideally want to inspire people to pick up a new habit or to do something in the month. mostly maybe about working out, but also other lifestyle changes. We encourage people to do. So hopefully they can pick up something new, a new habit that makes their life a bit better and a bit easier, especially with the challenges we have right now. And I think, staying in touch, picking up the phone more often to check in with a friend is really important. Again, you don't have to talk to all of your friends. I've tried that. Trust me, it doesn't work. In the beginning of lockdown, I made like a long list of all the people, and I didn't want to leave anyone behind. And then just realized the most important person in your life to look after is yourself. So don't put yourself in a situation where you maybe burn out by trying to be super helpful and social. You can't help everyone, sadly. But you can start with your immediate circle of friends, your immediate family, or even your colleagues. And then if you realize, okay, I still have more capacity, check in with yourself. If you don't need any more support for yourself, and then reach out. So yeah, being socially connected and physically distant, but not socially, is really something you can probably use at least until COVID in its current state is over, but maybe even moving forward for the rest of your life. Regarding supporting Movember, like this is the month where we fundraise, so we don't really put any fundraising asks out there. Although if you have too much money and you want to part with it, you can donate to us year round, or you can get in touch with us to ask how to best do that. But the easiest way is always to go through our website. And then, we have a few awareness campaigns we're going to run throughout the year. If COVID hopefully will get a bit more under control. So normally in April, we do a campaign for testicular cancer awareness, which we scrapped this year because we assume helping people through the challenges of COVID is more important. So keep an eye out for that. There's going to be lots of content around nuts and balls and all the different words we found to avoid using the word testicles, although we should probably just say testicles more often because it makes men giggle. Women shake their head. And in the end, what we want people to do is check in on their testicle once in a month. So this is also something that hopefully more and more people will pick up now. You can check them more often, but if you check them regularly, you will need to you will find out what feels normal, and then this gives you an opportunity to realize when something feels odd and off. And if there's a lump that wasn't there a month before, at least it wasn't there a month before, and you don't think it was there the last time I checked 5 years ago. And so that's important. We do a few bits around Father's Day because we really want people to check in with the father figures in their life, for mental health, but also for physical health reasons, because we know that if cancer runs in the family, both breast and prostate cancer, it could mean that you are at higher risk. And obviously you don't only want to have that conversation in the month of November. Ideally, you want to have that regularly to check in with the men in your family. And then we have World Suicide Prevention Day in September, where we want to raise awareness for the fact that 3/4 of suicides globally are men, and that men have a harder time opening up, asking for help. And that's why we all need to be a bit more mindful and look after the men in our life, and maybe ask them how they're going. And when they say, yeah, I'm all right, ask them, okay, but I've seen you looked a bit distressed. You've reported you have trouble sleeping. You've told me that you self-medicate with alcohol. This is all a sign for you going through a mental health issue, and I'm concerned and I want you to get better. And how can we do that? Don't wait until September to have that conversation, but have it now. Nothing stops you from having it now. And maybe if you listen to this podcast or you watch the video, use this as an opportunity and say that you watched two men talk about mental health. One guy was shaving, the other guy had a weird handlebar mustache, but you learned something, and this is now important for you, and you want whoever you talk to get better, to look after their health better, to connect more with you. And I think, there's a lot of things happening going on, but the most important first step is on your side, and you need to do that and maybe implement some of those behaviors you've learned through or in November or Movember.
Beautiful. And again, like always, your words trigger ideas and thoughts and emotions within me. And for those of you that did not see our first episode, and I'll put a link to that, Michael did give an impromptu instruction on how to check your testicles. So you can go back there. And we also put some links in there to some other material. Something that's helped me a lot with life is stressful, parenthood is stressful, work is stressful, is meditation. And that's something I've been really working on becoming more, and again, not giving myself a hard time about it, but when I can and when I'm inspired to, it really helps. So I would love it if there's an idea box for the Movember Foundation. You have moments, you've got the Movember, you've got movement, and maybe they had some sort of, I'm not sure if you could play with the word, but a meditation, some sort of meditation version or something. I don't know. So play with it. It's having fun. Anyways, I'll keep meditating, and I found this whole month extremely inspiring, and I'll keep talking to people. I'll keep raising awareness. I'll keep my eyes open. If I see some of those clues and indications, and I will do my best as a man and as a person to reach out and care and respect and love if I see people that can use it. And I really wish everyone else can do that as well. So Michael, thank you so much for joining on the podcast twice and experiencing the shaving twice. And hopefully we will see each other next year in some way or form. And so stay safe,
that would be
stay
great.
happy. Thanks so much.
No, thank you. Thanks for your support, Chris. Thanks for your listeners, your network support. People always ask us, like, what kind of influences do you have? What kind of celebrities do Movember? And I'm always intrigued to tell them we don't really need them, because the most important influencer in our book is the Mo Bro and the Mo Sister who support us. It's people like you, Chris, who either use their channels, whether that's here on LinkedIn, but also, having a chat with your family, having a chat with your mates, having a chat with your co-workers about Movember is probably starting more life-saving and life-changing conversations than if, I don't know, Brad Pitt grows a mustache or not and mentions it on Instagram. I know Brad Pitt is a supporter, so I don't want to throw him under the bus, but everybody can do something, and you can always start with yourself and inspire others by leading the way, by shaving off your beard and growing a mustache, by moving, or by just having a chat and asking someone you care about how they're going and really listen to them, especially if they're not doing well.
I love it. And that's what we're being intentional about that, just talking to real people, and that's like we've been doing. Michael, thank you so much. Good luck with the dogs. Good luck with the rest of the Movember last couple of days, and then and into next year with all those other activities. I again really appreciate your time and everything you and the foundation are doing. We're all better off for it.
Thank you so much, Chris.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Learn more at ebullient.com/podcast.